And the first piece that I want to show you is I want to take a look at the actual bills themselves. Okay. There are two bills in question. So first, let me go where the status is. The way this legislative process works is that the bill is proposed, and there are hundreds of them, as I said, per legislator. Once it gets proposed, and one of the legislators accept it, it goes to where the language is worked out. There are lots of ideas that people put out there, but at the end of the day, the language, almost everything in Virginia is an amendment to an existing statute. So if you look here, 22.1 in the Code of Virginia's Education. So anything that goes in is not a new bill unless it gets a new number. It's an amendment, so don't let that throw you off, okay? So the two pieces of legislation that we're pushing here. In October, with the COVID funds, there was a special session called by the existing governor in order to allocate budgetary funds. He put restrictions on the sessions that anything non-budgetary couldn't be talked about. At that time, I've been working with Gary Newman and others. Senator Newman's office had reached out and wanted language for a bill. And so those were submitted, and then these are the bills that came out of it. So we're normalizing the same language, and this is language that the Senate has already seen, but did not make it to the floor because of a rules limitation in that session. Okay, so there are two bills. The first one is a law banning CRT principles. What we didn't do was name CRT specifically or anything else, because they'll just change the name and go to something else. What we tried to do was to identify the core principles that, if they became illegal, would undermine everything else. You're right, this thing does say my connection's unstable. You know what I'm gonna do? I am going to, for 1 second. Not sure why my connection's like that, but I need.
You turn off your camera, Paul.
Huh?
I don't know if that.
What
Maybe
happened?
turn off your camera. That saves bandwidth and should work.
Why are you seeing what you're seeing?
The very bottom has that video camera.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but I have.
Block it out.
I have one of those M1 Max. So I'm gonna hardwire myself in right now. And I hope that works. Okay, that message went away. Is it better? Now I'm on the hardwire Ethernet. Okay, let's move on. All right. So the first bill, so there's 6 principles to the first bill that we think undermines all of CRT throughout the state. Okay, so it would forbid students or employees. You can't teach, you can't train, you can't promote in any way these 6 principles. That any race is inherently superior or inferior to any other race. That any individual, by virtue of his race or skin color, is inherently racist, privileged, or oppressed, whether consciously or subconsciously. That any person, by virtue of his race or religion, bears responsibility for the actions committed by other members of his race. That a person's moral character is determined by race. That the United States is fundamentally or systemically racist, and finally that capitalism is an inherently racist system. So that's the piece that's the first part. That would be, hold on, okay. That's the first part that would be forbidden under code. Okay, so any questions there about this part of the bill?
Yeah, Paul.
Yep.
This is Dan. So we had one of our school board members proposed a resolution for the school board, which basically took the same 6 principles and banned them, but it got it didn't get voted in. So just as an FYI, Carolyn Weems is our school board member who did that.
Right. So in York County and Portsmouth, whatever, this language has been circulated. I think in the Board of Supervisors was supposed to do it, and then school board piped in and said they wanted part of it, and then they canned the whole thing altogether.
Yeah.
So that was, and that's fine. That was just a ruse, in my opinion. That was the Board of Supervisors was ready to take action, and because they're ready to take action, school board, I think it was like a November 5th or something vote or 16th vote. They killed that and then backed out against it. So that was strategic. And I think 2 members of the Board of Supervisors who had been supporters backed out of it. Is that right?
I don't know about Board of Supervisors. I know
Yes.
about the Virginia
What
Beach
board?
School Board.
The York County School Board.
Oh, crap. Okay.
Yeah, there was
We
a
haven't
bill,
backed out of anything.
there was a resolution that was supposed to be passed. It was agreed upon. School board said they wanted to be part of it as if it was a positive thing, and then immediately trashed the whole thing by just interfering with the process on condition of missing that December 16th date, and that kind of killed it. So,
Exactly.
but I understand, I'm not planning on taking any prisoners here.
Good.
I agree. Don't
And
take prisoners.
and so but in terms of, I guess my question is, do we understand how the tenets of this bill, for example, if they want to talk about anti-racism, you can't do that because, you know, the basic concept of anti-racism assumes systemic racism, so you have to get rid of that. The whole oppressive thing, that it's unconscious, conscious, all of that's in here too. You have to get rid of that. And I've actually gone through, and I had an assistant go through the various websites, you know, Virginia for Learners, VDOE, and if these principles are passed, it will give the governor the ability to go through and kind of eradicate these issues. Now, the second bill, and of course, as I said, everything comes through as an amendment. I'm not going to read all the language of this. This has been a long-standing statute in Virginia that has to do with the standards of classroom instruction and education leadership. Okay, so this statute's been around for a while. It was amended on February 25th of this year to include something called cultural competency. If you look at how cultural competency is enumerated in the system, it's basically teacher training for CRT principals and the authority to fire a teacher or not hire a teacher who refuses to undertake this, undertake the training. Okay, I found out about it, I'm going to say in May, when there, in June, when a whistleblower from one of the PPP committees formed across the state, who was a math teacher who could not stomach what she was being trained on, she sent me documents anonymously that they had basically said that if it was shared, she'd be fired. And, you know, that was published and kind of moved on from there.
So Paul.
Yep.
One of the things that, I don't know if it's part of this bill or whatever, but earlier this year in Virginia Beach, we went to school board meeting and they talked about that they would also not certify the teachers who didn't go through this CRT training and all this other stuff.
Yeah, that's this bill.
It wouldn't be, we argued with the school board and this superintendent. Bottom line is, it goes into effect, I believe, next school year. I don't know if this bill has anything to do with it, or
it went into effect July 1st of this school year. The first,
It's phased in over 3 years.
yeah, the first phase is,
right,
is the PPP committees are supposed to come together and come up with a plan on how to do a broader implementation. So a small group
right,
of people get training and then go a year, July 1st, 2020, then the training is supposed to roll out. And then you go forward another year of July 2023, then it becomes a condition of employment. So it is planning.
2 years, right?
Yeah.
I got it.
So the bill itself came into effect already.
Yeah. Okay. I got it.
And we're looking to repeal the mandatory provisions of it. So you ask the question, why amend it to say may rather than shall? And why not outrightly get rid of it? And the reason for that is 2119. And 2119 is the number of Democrats versus Republicans in the Senate. So we have 19 votes. They have 21 votes. The door was left over through some moniker of negotiations to say if there was a school district that was bent on doing this, they could do it, but it's not a state mandate. So those school districts that don't agree with it can just ignore it, and those school districts that agree with it will be subject to parental. There's a review clause in it, basically adding at the end that you can't implement it without a 30-day period of public notice.
Comment.
So parents could come in, they could voice themselves and kill this thing. And
Yeah.
that
So Paul, we're in phase 2 of this already. Phase 1. So we've already in Virginia Beach, we've already passed that 30-day voicing opinions against
This
it.
is not
So
the law.
we're SOL then, right?
No. The 30 days is the proposed law. 30 days does not exist now in statute. We're trying to add 30 days. So what we're trying to do is this, make it non-mandatory. But if the school district wants to push it, it has to go through a 30-day evaluation period with the parents.
Okay.
So
we all know, I mean, in our case, our school board is a bunch of Marxists. There's 7 Marxists to 4 people that believe in our Constitution. And, we can have the 30 days and they're just going to sit there and look at us and kind of smile and then vote to do it. I mean, I guess that's.
So this is what I'm going to say, and anyone can hate me for it. Do you believe in parents' rights?
Yes.
Yes.
So tell me this, if 80% of the parents want the garbage and 20% don't, when we talk about parents' rights, doesn't that mean that the 80% should get their wish?
Yes.
Okay, if 80% want this trash, then they should get their trash.
Right.
Right? So therefore, it is our responsibility to make sure that our school boards reflect the will of the parents. Otherwise, a minority, which is happening now, can take a position and control everything. And what this law does is by making it optional, no state mandate, it returns power to the local electorate. They can vote one way or the other on what they want. Now, we have to become a bit more savvy about these things in that it doesn't matter who is on the school board currently. What matters is if you can bring an alternative candidate and put the mechanism together to support the alternative candidate. And that's what America's about. So
so Paul,
okay,
just so you know, what we're doing in Virginia Beach, I apologize to interrupt. I'll let you finish. Sorry.
No, so that's all I'm saying. So I understand that when it comes to recalls across the state and all stuff like that, and where the person's going to be replaced by somebody that's picked by the board that's already in place that we don't agree with, that's not where my focus is. I want to give people the legislative power to be able to change their futures and the destiny of their school districts. And by this amendment, that's what this does. It makes it a may, and then I'm going to put the onus back on you to change the electoral picture in your district.
No, I got you. No, I understand. You're giving us the bullets for our pistol, so to speak. And we're doing a recall.
Mhm.
and hopefully we're not hopefully we're successful, and also the election, but also once we get a school board in,
Mhm.
this law will give us the ammo to do what we need to do.
Right. Right now, they can say it's not us, it's the state. We have to do it.
Right.
Right.
I
And
got it.
and with this law, you can say no, it's not the state. This is your choice, and that's going to give you what you need to voice your voice in an election.
Yeah, I got it.
It's
This is very good.
Yeah, right now they have cover. Oh,
Yeah.
the state's making us do it. This amendment passes, that goes away.
We need another one like this for mass.
Hey, Paul.
Yes.
Hey, Paul, this is Martha Cutzinger. Thank you for doing this. I'm still kind of confused on this, because if the first bill passes banning all the tenets are the foundation to culturally responsive instruction. So wouldn't it by default make culturally responsive instruction not allowed?
No, this is the trick, okay? The first bill passes, those principles can't be taught. There are, so this is not culturally responsive stuff. This cultural competency piece for the teachers,
Yeah.
it would mean that in the training, those things would have to come out, right? They can teach those things. The
If you're not speaking, please mute yourselves.
Okay. This bill takes away a mandate. I'll be blunt. I'm 100% against anything mandated in the classroom that doesn't have to do with reading, writing, arithmetic. I'm against it, right? We go to school because this is the deal. At the end of the day, when a child graduates, what the ultimate measure of a school is whether or not that child graduates with enough skills to escape poverty or to be in poverty due to literacy. I don't care how culturally sensitive you are. If you cannot read and perform math at a proficient rate, your education is trash.
Exactly.
Okay. So taking away the mandate for this cultural competency nonsense, my wish is that most school districts just never do it.
Right.
Because it shouldn't be there to begin with.
Right.
Right. So that's me being blunt. I apologize if that's too blunt, but
I still think that they're going to have a hard time doing it if the first bill is passed.
absolutely.
When you look at the guidance from the state on the ed equity guidance for culturally responsive instruction, it's all about the 6 bullet points in the first bill.
Yes, we have to get this past the Senate. So this bill allows certain senators who are Democrat moderate to have cover.
Okay.
It's just
Okay.
So, hey, Paul, this is Todd Gackey with the Family
Hey, Todd.
Foundation.
Good to see you again.
Hey, yeah, good to see you. I think, yeah, I agree with everything. I think it's important to clarify the distinction between the two changes to the existing law. The first one is dealing strictly with curricula, so that you have to address that within the state code. The second one is dealing specifically with teacher licensing. And so those are two separate issues. Yes, they're kind of in a way linked, but in order to accomplish this in the code, you have to do it two separate ways. One, to address the curriculum, and then the other is to address the training that is behind that. It is possible that you could have a situation which you amend the law to repeal to add the language to prohibit anti-racist, anti-bias teaching, cultural critical race theory, but also not get this changed to the cultural competency. And so teachers are being taught this on the back end. And this is just a way to go about it in both ways to make sure that that you accomplish both, both action items, I guess.
Hey, Todd, that's a good point. This is Dan Chang, sorry. Because I guess my question is, what if the first one passes and the second one doesn't? I mean, are these two so linked together that it's either both or nothing?
You want to answer?
my-
or you want to? Go for it.
Yeah. In my opinion, they are linked. Yes, I think you can. There are elements of critical race theory that would be involved in cultural competency training. However, from a teacher licensure standpoint, they are separate because one, as I mentioned, is dealing with curriculum. This one is dealing specifically with their licensure and whether or not they're qualified to be able to teach in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Yeah, but what if they're teaching, if the licensing is based on CRT and they get licensed, and then besides, if the first one passes, they're not allowed to do that stuff, but we know that there's bad actors out there that are going to try to do it to keep their certification.
Can I interject one piece? Okay, so we have to think about this as a farming operation. It's going to take some tilling of the soil, some planting, some watering to get where we need to go. Okay. There are cultural competency consultants who have produced material that is deeply embedded in the Virginia Department of Education. On the first piece, it gives the governor recourse to start to work to get these things out of the system, and it gives teachers a legal basis to say that they're not going to do something, right? And we can start working it out. However, the liberals have been in power for a very long time, and there is a department with 200 employees whose only job is to indoctrinate this stuff into the system. It will take time for us to make the change. So the two bills are necessary. The work that we have to do beyond legislation is we have to redefine what cultural competency means, because the law doesn't say what it means. Once we eradicate the CRT tenets within the system, we can take the term cultural competency and redefine it from an administrative level to say that cultural competency is to teach equality of opportunity, which is embedded in the first bill. However, it's going to take a lot of effort, a couple of years, to get lesson plans, et cetera, in place in order to do that.
I'm with you. It's like turning a carrier 2 degrees to get a 30-degree course change.
Yeah. And this is not the end. There are other legislative initiatives that I'm working on language with already for the second session of the legislature that has to do with transparency in terms of giving parents the absolute legal ability to review all curricula, and that everything presented in the classroom must be documented in a way that is publicly available to parents. So there are about 7 other bills that I have put in place that I'm working on right now as part of this effort. But I want the principles of CRT banned, period. I want cultural competency optional, so we have time to redefine what that means.
Hey,
I
Paul,
gotcha.
as far as the amendment goes, will it allow a teacher in a school system a school system that adopts culturally responsive instruction, does a teacher within that system have any recourse to not teach it or to not submit to the training?
If they have to submit to the training, they cannot be trained or teach anything that violates the 6 banned principles.
Okay. Okay, great. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? So let's go to the hard work part, okay? So what we've done is we've put up a site called colorblindforlife.org. In this site, what we need to do is we need everyone in this meeting, and as many of you as possible, this is where you can go to read the bill. The language is there, okay? But we also want you to sign up to an email list, your name, your email, et cetera, et cetera. What we want is I want to be able to appoint captains in every school district whose responsibility will be to garner support in their school district, okay? And we need to create groups out there in Facebook or wherever called Ban CRT Virginia dash whatever your school district is. And we need to capture as many parents into this as possible. And we need as many parents or citizens as possible to contact the legislature, Senate, and House to say that you're supporting the language of these bills. Every single member of the Senate and every single member of the House has this language and knows this is coming.
Paul, I will say that emailing is from previous efforts with getting legislation passed. Emailing is not enough. You have to call, and you have to call often.
Yep.
Making a phone call makes a big difference, and it's much easier to email, I know, than to take time to make a call, but it makes a big difference, and call often.
So I would add, I would want emails, physical letters, and calling. We need to make enough noise to overwhelm the legislature on this. In my opinion, Youngkin was elected because of parents and parents being fed up with this. To me, that is the only mandate of this election. I don't care if the percentage points of the outcome was 3%. In reality, you look in Loudoun, you look in Fairfax County, there was a 10 to 15 point difference between Biden's election and Youngkin's election over parental rights. And then when it comes to turnout in Southwest and the Southeast regions, that turnout was significantly up due to parents' rights issues. So this is the mandate. And we need to take advantage of that this is what's going to get people elected or not elected. Even on the Democrat side, Deeds, Morrissey, a bunch of them, there are 5 of them, who have school districts that went overwhelming for Youngkin. And that wasn't because they certainly become conservatives. They just didn't want to deal with this education crap anymore. And so while this is the most important thing in my opinion on the
It's
legislature.
vulnerable on CRT.
What is it?
I'm sorry, who is that?
What's horrible?
I'm sorry.
People mute their microphones, please? If
Yeah.
Okay, someone said something. So
My microphone won't mute for some
Okay.
reason in the.
that's fine.
Sorry about that.
So
Hey, Paul.
the reason why I want the email to be collected here is I need to know who you are so we can communicate. It's a lot easier.
So Paul.
Yep.
Paul. So I'm all for you. I mean, I'm all for doing this, and so is this the web page that we should promote? Because I got a lot of parents down here that are definitely fed up with this.
Yep.
So is this the one? And then with the tagline to email, letter, call.
Yeah. So
Is this it?
it's just colorblindforlife.org, right? This is for the coalition. More information will be added here. But right now, we just need your name, your email, the information you want to give us, particularly where you are, so we can start organizing the efforts. I talked for about an hour with the delegate Amanda Batten today. I talked with John McGuire yesterday, and I talked with Chris Runyon, and I have calls to return to about a dozen other delegates who are definitely on board with this, okay? And on the Senate side, I've been talking to state senators who are definitely on board with this, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them to coalesce around a common language, okay? And we're all going to talk about in certain terms. We're all going to talk about this being not partisan, but bipartisan, a parents' rights issue. And, this, if the new governor goes 9 months without parental rights legislation, everything falls apart for downstream elections because no one's going to believe anybody's going to do anything about it. So Virginia, what we do now has a huge impact on parents' rights nationally. We took a blue state, red, based on parents' rights. So at this point in time, we have to hit a home run here.
Mhm.
And I need that level of enthusiasm. I need that level of dedication. And I really need you to stay pissed off. I need everybody to
Paul.
stay pissed off about this.
Yep. Hey, Paul, what have you thought of talking to like Virginia Beach, our school board members that are pro parental rights, like Vicki Manning, Laura Hughes? Are you just worrying about and it's a right. You're hitting the right points. The state delegates and the senators. But have you thought? Because I mean, I'm connected to them real well, and I'm connected to some of the new delegates. Not I, but my wife.
I invite you. I'm preparing another short video of another effort in Prince Williams County that took place over the last 6 months. I was invited to speak to the Education Subcommittee for the Racial and Social Justice Commission of the Prince Williams County School Board. I showed up, I sent my presentation and showed up at that meeting. They actually brought in the consultant to dispute the findings in my presentation. And my presentation looked at the data in Virginia and concluded that racism was not a factor, and that there were other germane factors of which we could improve education that were not race-based. This person was pretty lousy, but it let me know that it was a hostile, despite the invitation, that it was a hostile audience. I was invited, and this was reported on the Prince Williams School Board site. I was invited back to the full commission to testify and to take questions. That went about an hour and a half. It was testy, and in the beginning, I only had one friendly member, then there were two, then there were three. The school board, the commission published, so the idea they were going to make recommendations about this racial stuff, CRT, yada, 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 yada. And the recommendation I said is that based on this other data, race cannot be the controlling factor. And what I learned from the first meeting is I looked at their data from 2018 to 2018 over a 10-year period before COVID. And it showed their measure of progress in terms of graduation rates and dropout rates in Prince William County before any of this race-based stuff was put into the system. And it showed that their greatest reductions in increase in graduation rates and reductions in dropout rates happened about 2 years before they started this nonsense. So they published on their website 2 weeks ago that the commission was coming out with their recommendation, was also the Loudoun Times, and that they said there's no data that supports any changes, and that there's no data that shows that race has impact on the outcomes in Prince William County, but they were not denying that race was not in, they were saying that race was not involved, but they had no data to prove that it was involved. And so their recommendation was to monitor and have a protocol, which is the exact words that I gave them in my testimony. And so this was a hostile audience. If we fight, we can change it. I'll talk to any school board, any place in this state. I have all the data in terms of outcomes, performances, what programs have worked or not worked, in about 118 different school districts in Virginia. That's how I know that this stuff is BS, because I have the data.
That's awesome.
So you get me the invite and I'll show up.
Okay. I mean, you've spoken at our school board meetings and that one rally, so I know the impact of your remarks. So,
and we have to fight this with data, because quite frankly, Prince William had to be embarrassed to backing down. And they put that little caveat that they couldn't prove that there wasn't anything there, but they can prove anything that it was. Their data showed that because they even had different programs. Commissioner Williams She was like, oh, I went to this program, it was race-based, and this is why I am where I am. I said, however, Prince Williams County had Catholic programs that did it. You had Jewish programs that did it. You had other programs that did it. I said, and all of them seemed to work, not just the race-based programs. I said, what they all had in common, academic rigor. And so you could eliminate ideology and why performance improved. And if you watch the video, and I'm going to post it on this site, she had nothing to say about that because it was true.
So Paul, she is still, though, she has nothing to say about it. And as you're right, because it's true, that doesn't stop her. She held her own town hall 2 weeks ago.
I saw that thing. And she banned talk on CRT, so I couldn't speak.
Right, exactly.
I knew what that was about.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what that was about. I just giggled. And you know what? It went nowhere.
Is this a board member in Prince William County you're talking about?
Yeah, this is a board member that just, put it this way, for her, I keep a tiny violin. So I can start playing whenever she starts talking. Because her arguments are not based in fact. I understand. Okay, so when I was young, before I entered middle school, most of my life, I'd never met a white person. I went to school in Alabama, in Alabama, Mississippi. I'd gone to school in all Black communities. And I've lived in all Black communities. And I can tell you that
this is that Black guy started a movement in Virginia to get rid of CRT.
Yeah, this is back in the
working
1970s.
to propose the 2 bills coming up next year.
Please mute yourself if you're not speaking.
So I can tell you for a fact that the tenets of CRT have existed since I was 5. And they have been the most destructive influences in the Black community ever. I can tell you for a fact that the tenets of CRT have always been the #1 recruiting messages for gangs, except they don't say anything about interracial. They say, if the system's against you, why bother to get an education? You're not going anywhere. And I'll tell you this, I spent 2 years in Gary, Indiana, working in the school system there when it was the murder capital of the country. And I had 2 people that I worked with murdered for getting scholarships to college because the gangs did not want there to be hope for the people in the community. One kid had a job at McDonald's. He just gotten a scholarship. Gangbangers went through the drive-through and shot him in the head at work. The other guy was shot 30 feet from my front door. This stuff is dangerous.
Hey, Paul, has there been any study into in data of school systems like, say, I'm assuming in Seattle and maybe Portland and places where they've implemented, you know, equity and DEI?
Yeah, there has been.
And is that published somewhere?
I'm smiling because I did a deep dive into this. And I looked at all of the studies, the most exhaustive being from Stanford University in 2016. And the conclusion of Stanford University is that they hope it helps, but there's no proof. Every study has the same outcome. Because typically when someone, short story, when I was with I used to be an instructor at the Defense Systems Management College. And when the Army was the executive agent for total quality management, they brought in the guys from Chrysler who had turned Chrysler around to train us on how to bring that type of quality to the military. In the guy's speech, he said, well, the employees complained that the lights were too dim in the warehouse. So we turned the lights up so many lumens by 5% and productivity went up. He said, and so 2 months later, we dimmed the lights by the same amount and productivity went up again. And what they learned from it was that when you focus and give attention to something, people respond. And sometimes it's not even the actions that you take, it's just the fact that you're paying attention. And so the Stanford study, when it looks at it, basically concludes, cannot say that it's conclusive that the race-based training has anything to do with it because non-race-based training had the same effects. And so they said further study was required. In fact, all of the studies pretty much say, all of the peer-reviewed studies, let me say that, say that it's something that requires further study because there is no definitive proof. All of the studies, quote unquote studies that say that it does have an effect are in fact not studies, but surveys or magazine articles. They have no basis in fact.
Well, I think it's also probably hard to gauge because they advocate against testing. So, you know, they graduate these kids, there's grade inflation involved, they get a high school degree, but they don't know anything.
Yeah, no left. Okay, so sure. We do know, okay, so there are 4 pillars to education that K through 12 convolutes, but there's 4. The first one's the standard, what you should learn, right? At the other bookend is the evaluation of what you've learned. I have a standard. This is how I'm going to test to see if you've learned it. And then in between, we have a lesson plan, the schedule to achieve it, and curricula, the materials to achieve it. In Virginia, as in most places, with the support of these teachers' unions, that middle piece is reserved for them. They create lesson plans, and in many cases, it's teacher to teacher, which means that there's a variability factor that has to do with the teacher's understanding of the standard. And I can tell you that most teachers don't understand the standard as well as they think they do, right? And then the curricula selection is from the school district or the teacher, right, to support their lesson plan. And so you have this system to where you're trying to figure out what it means to be educated in, say, algebra. And you have a test that says you can pass this test if you're educated in algebra. And then in the middle, you have a group of people that just make stuff up.
Right.
That's why we have a disparity between in-school grading and outside standardized testing. In reality, there needs to be some way of measuring whether or not what's being taught and the curricula aligns with the standard and the evaluation. The way teachers get around today say, I don't want to teach to the test. Well, of course you should teach to the test if that's what they're supposed to learn. That's a problem in education overall, is that the teachers' unions don't want there to be any outside accountability from the standard. And that's how we get this to this is how we get this happening. If it rests within the school itself and there's no outside standard, that means each individual teacher or district or school can lie about what they're doing.
Right.
And I do talk a lot, I apologize. But that's a different issue. And we'll get to those.
Paul, let's get to the bottom of what we need to do. Is we all need to activate our groups to start making calls and start emailing. Do you want to have a form? Do you want to produce a form letter for everyone to use, or each person should use their own thing?
We need to
And
take
what is,
yeah, we need to take this step by step. So on the site, colorblindforlife.org, you're able to click on and join the fight. First thing is we need to know who you are and your email address. You can give us information about yourself. And I'm gonna be very blunt. Anonymous participation in the political process is garbage. You need to have your, in order for us to say the state is violating our rights, we need to have numbers to verify that. If we have 10,000 people that say this is what we think, that's more meaningful than 10,000 people on the Facebook page who won't tell us who they are. So go on the site, your name, your email, leave us a message, and so that the coalition can come back and look at and say, okay, this is where our people are. This is our plan. This is where the delegate is for that district. This is where the senator is for that district. Because we're going to come back. This is going to have to be a voting district and school district fight, district to district. And this is not easy. It's going to be hard.
Right.
So Paul, I don't know, the lady who was speaking earlier about a cheat sheet because I have to tell you, one of the things we had to do for the recall was develop a cheat sheet for all our supporters to understand the charges against the school board. So, I mean, one of the things, and I agree with you. First thing, join the fight. Second thing is, if there's something that in a one-page deal that describes these bills,
Yeah.
that we could go, when I send out to all our supporters, I need a sheet that is smarter than me.
So you're volunteering to be the Norfolk captain?
When I
Yes,
was
he
at the
is.
Naval Academy, they said never volunteer for
Hey.
anything.
Well, you're Navy.
But okay. It's not Norfolk. I'm Virginia Beach.
I mean,
but
Virginia Beach, I'm sorry.
I got connections in Chesapeake, so I could send it out to these leaders.
That's what we
in fact,
need.
Norfolk
Well, Dan,
is really pretty weak.
Yep.
Dan, what district are you?
Oh, congressional district?
No, delegate. Who's your, I'm District 65.
Oh,
Lee, where is my House of
Anferl
Delegates?
Tata is our delegate now that Jason Miraz is the Attorney General.
Okay.
Okay, so I've
So I think that's
participated
85.
in many years, this exact same activism, and it's a very clean and clear process of dividing everybody by districts and having the district captain lead the charge. So, for instance, I would be potentially, if there's somebody else not in my district, the district captain or a District 65 captain. Yael, do you know your House of Delegate district number?
Yeah, right now I'm 55, but of course, I'm also connected to Henrico, so I can do a lot in Central Virginia.
Right. So,
and I can also do Scott Wyatt's. I have people in Scott Wyatt's district, so I can, most of Central Virginia, I can find people to do it.
Yeah.
So what I suggest is that part of your Colorblind for Life, that database that you're doing,
Yeah.
you should have in there like the district that people are a part of, so that
we're going to publish every elected official, their district, and their contact information. And then once we have district captains, we're going to put together, and again, it's going to be working with the person of what they can do, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to work with that. Y'all has lots of experience in terms of this type of organization. What we want to do is let people identify themselves.
Did you just call me y'all?
Y'all. What's proper pronouncing?
Yael.
Yael. Okay. So
And
Yael.
Robert wants to speak. Robert is raising his hand.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Robert. My bad. Just slap me.
Thank you, Ms. Levin. Just a couple of things. Number one.
Her name is y'all now.
Yeah, y'all. Listen, y'all. That is so bad. So, Paul.
Yep.
How do we make inroads into the Black community via the Black churches? There's no such thing as Black church to begin with, or Black people, but everybody's using it. So how do we get into the brown churches and get the word into there so it comes out from the pulpit? Because that's where we're all a bunch of white people. Well, we got a couple of Black guys, Joe and others, but we're all white people, so to speak.
Okay, so the Black churches don't have the authority that they once did, that they did back in terms of the civil rights movements. It's just not there. This is the way the Black demographic works. When you come to Black conservatism, Black males are more open to conservatism than Black females. It's just the way it is, okay? The Black quote unquote church is primarily composed of Black females today. Black male attendance is very low, okay?
This is the same in the white community, just so you know.
Yeah, to a lot of the same degree, yeah. It actually was the same way like 1900
Very different among Israelis.
Got it.
Very, very different.
So the question becomes this: how do you show someone that things are different than their perception? You're not going to argue it out of them. Understand, like I said, when I was a kid, this stuff was said, and it hasn't changed in 50 years, okay? What you have to do, you will win the heart of a mother when you change the heart of the child. When you can make these arguments, when you can take CRT out, this is one, there are two sides of what I'm trying to do. On the one side, I want to stop the indoctrination and that whole piece. On the other side, I'm working with people like Dr. Carol Swain and others to come up with positive alternative lesson plans, other approaches, et cetera, to bring the positives in. Most of the conversation I had with the man debating today, the delegate, had to do primarily with evidence-based programs that can actually make differences in underperforming school districts based on evidence and facts. Looking at charter school outcomes, one of the pieces that I'm pushing, I'm probably going to get shot down. But in my opinion, when we look at vouchers and charter schools, Virginia has a law against money going to private institutions, okay? It's in the statute, it can't be done. What Virginia doesn't have a law against is vouchers, the charter school program, but the number of charter schools are controlled by the local districts. I'm lobbying for a change in the legislation. In my world, 80% of all the schools in Virginia should be charter schools. And the top performing echelon of those schools should be, those school management should be able to take over the bottom half. So if I have 10 charter schools and 5 of them are overperforming and 5 are underperforming, the systems in place at those performing schools, they should be able to reach down and take that same knowledge and apply that to the underperforming schools so that in Virginia, we have a constant system of competition to improve.
We have a guest asking for an explanation of what a charter school is.
Oh, a charter school is a public school operated by a private company. So in other words, the infrastructure, the school, et cetera, it's publicly funded, but it's managed privately. And that brings the issue that you have with a pure voucher program, when you say school choice, the problem with school choice is there are not enough alternative seats. So I'll give you an example. I have a school system with I have a failing school system with 100,000 students, and I give them school choice, where are they going to go? There aren't 100,000 seats outside the public school system to choose from. It's not there. That's the first piece. Trying to create those opportunities other than homeschool is expensive and takes a lot of time. And it could take 10 to 15 years to create alternatives. Now, it's no problem getting started, but in that cycle, you have 10 to 15 years of indoctrination in a bad system. If the law changed to where you could have a district that had a mandatory charter school for high school, a mandatory charter school that's pure public, in other words, managed by the government, and one managed by private enterprise, to me, that's real choice. Right? Because the government, not the government, your taxpayer dollars would pay for the facilities, maintenance, upkeep, and infrastructure, which is the biggest thing to stop private schools from forming. And within that bubble, then you would get that level of innovation in, and of course, that would be standards. My other problem with when you talk about a pure voucher program, We've seen this happen in public, in higher education. When the government gives you money for free, it ain't free. They're going to attach conditions to it. And so a pure voucher program is a segue into government control of private schools. Imagine a private school that has, 500 students and 400 of them are there on voucher money. The government can then introduce rules and tell the private school what to teach or lose that money. And 90% of them will teach it rather than closing down. That's the issue there. If we do this in a charter school situation, then that's not the case. And we reach the greatest number of kids. Any other questions?
I think we
Hey,
just
Paul,
need
this is
a,
Dan. I have
Hi,
to,
Dan.
excuse me, I have to sign off.
Okay,
Um,
we're about done anyway.
I got this, I got this last minute. So I need to, if you can, I think you have my cell. I like to call you about an issue I have, and I will promote this, but the lady who talked about district managers, I think that's a great idea. I just need to talk to you about something that
Okay, problem.
I can't share publicly right
No
now.
problem. So I'm going to end this call with me begging. If you could see, I am virtually on my knees. So the process is that they're going to work out the language on the next couple of weeks. Then it's going to get a number. I'm working with the legislature to have chief patrons and to get people signed on the bills so that we have solid support from members within both houses of the legislature, within the Senate and the House. And that's going to be a lot of efforts, a lot of phone calls, takes a lot of time, whatever. That's fine. I'm fine with that. But with all of that being done, the best thing you can do for me is to go through, fill out the form, get your information there, and we're going to put up models in terms of contacting, et cetera, with numbers, et cetera, so that we can get the effort going. We have about 6 good weeks to make this happen. And I'm sorry it's a short period of time, but we have the first legislative session. That's going to end. And most we can do is to push Youngkin to do a special session in February, only for education issues, if we can get that done. We don't have a lot of time to get this done. That means we have to mobilize our army very quickly and extremely aggressively.
right, and that's where people like me from No Left Turn in Education, people like Joe with his radio show and his activities, where we come in and we have a big audience, and we are going to basically tell our members exactly what to say when they write, exactly what to say when they call, so that there's no, people will not act unless you make it really easy for them to act. So we have to make it very easy. We have to tell them what to write and what to say when they make a call. And we have to give them the numbers and the names of whom to call and whom to email. And we're going to do all of that for everyone. So.
Any more questions?
Would you do that for all districts or just your district?
Every district. We're going to do that. This is going to be.
We'll do it for all the districts, yes.
So you're going to do that for even down here for,
Everyone.
I don't know what. Okay, that's
I already
perfect.
have
Thank
all
you.
that information, so I'm going to do it for everyone.
So go.
And then
sign
how
up.
do you get our contact information?
On screen? Can you see my screen?
Okay, so I fill that out for me.
Yep.
And then, okay, I got it.
And also Joe put in the chat, he put a Google Doc that you can put in your name, organization, contact information. If you scroll up in the chat, there's a Google Doc link that you can put all of that in as well for us, those of us who are on this meeting.
Well, for this, I want to use the website. Everyone will have, all the coalition will have access to the data information. So to be simple, let them go to the webpage. Right now, we just need to name an email address. And they can leave a comment. In their comments, they can give us information, but we need to farm this out, collect the names and get them together, right? So your group, because we need to look at your group wherever. So this is a coalition. So wherever people have the strongest presence across the state, we're going to leverage coalitions to be able to do that, right? I'm not going to do everything. NSAB is not going to do everything. Loan Up Friends not going to do anything. Family Foundation not going to do everything. This really needs to be a group effort, right? And we're going to have strengths in different places, right? We have resources in different places. So let's do that and get those together. Let's have one place to where we get all your name, your email information, we'll collect it, okay? If there are coalitions out there that have access to resources, then we'll look and we'll do that. But at its core, go to the website, share the website, get people to sign up. On Wednesday, the coalition has a meeting. Hopefully we'll get as much of a response there, and we'll walk through and map out our extended strategy, right? So we meet about every 2 weeks on this, and we'll go to the extended strategy. You'll see additions to the website. We're going to give you more information on the individual coalitions, on the contacts, what they do. Feel free to sign up for those. I encourage you to support each one of these efforts because, quite frankly, this takes dollars to get this stuff done. Go ahead and all the information will be out there, and we're going to track every senator and every delegate down to the last vote until the last minute. Because what I want to see is a bill on the governor's desk, and I want it signed. And I will not rest until I'm at that point. I have a meeting tomorrow with.
And neither will I.
I have a meeting tomorrow with a Democrat senator. We're going to have that conversation. I have 2 other meetings scheduled with Democrat senators on this particular issue. I'm hoping that they can be convinced that this is nonpartisan and that this is what Americans want. And quite frankly, the people on the left can come a long way. Is just to take this off the table. This is not the fight to have. Don't mess with parents. Don't mess with a mother and her kids. That's just stupid. It's really stupid. And I don't care what a person's political bent is, you're not going to win that fight. You're just not going to win. So they need to stand down and support this legislation and to get this done. And that's the position that I'm taking there. And not only will I need district chiefs, I'm going to need that district. I'm going to need someone that will be able to coordinate communication with their elected official on a consistent basis and report back. Okay. We're going to work on getting political coverage. The NSABA has put together a budget where we're going to start running YouTube and Facebook ads on the issue to keep it going. We're willing to do whatever it takes to win this fight. We got about 3 months to win it. And after that, we're going to lose momentum. That's how urgent it is. Todd, any words? Todd, and so No Left Turn and Family Foundation, they're core, they're on the coalition that was called together. Joe Mosley is also a member of that coalition that was pulled together. Delois, I don't know if she's on the line. She's also a member of the coalition. So there's a core group. We're going to put their faces out so you get to know who they are. These are groups that are committed to this. They were selected because of their commitment to anti-CRT in education. They have the resources, they have the expertise, and they have the passion to drive this home. And sign up. When you sign up, you'll be notified when there's updates, and you'll be able to see all of the information on the members of the coalition and how to support the organization.
Paul, Walt is saying that he can't sign up on the website. Is it not operational yet?
Yeah, it's operational. I'm looking right at it.
No, really, Paul, I've been trying the entire time and I can't sign up.
Hold on, let me see what's going on here.
Yeah. That's what I keep getting. Yeah. That's exactly what I keep getting.
Everyone on the call, I will have the tech look at this, but I can't promise it won't be done before morning because
that's okay.
He's gone home. It'll be operational by 9 a.m.
Consider it done.
All right.
We've got 550 members now on York County.
Awesome.
Yes.
Now,
I need someone in York County, so let's talk offline, okay?
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
We'll get this done,
Hey,
okay?
Paul, I gotta sign off.
Okay.
This is
Well,
Dan.
we're
I
actually-
gotta
We
sign
thought
off.
you were long gone.
Well, I'm
We're
polite.
done.
I'm polite.
Dan, you
and I
have my
don't just
number.
leave.
You have my number. You know you can call
But
me.
I need to-
anytime.
I'll give you a call whenever because I gotta explain something to you.
No problem. Tomorrow, hold on. Tomorrow I have a meeting in Richmond. I have about in the afternoon, I'm unavailable. If you call me in the morning, I'll be available.
Am I gonna see you in Richmond, Paul?
Okay, just so
Oh, that depends. I might visit you on the way back.
Okay.
You're like 40 minutes away, right?
From Richmond?
Yeah.
15 minutes?
Really? Oh,
When I drive. When
I'll-
I drive.
I'll see you. I'll see you. I'll definitely see you. I'll let you know when I'm out of it.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll have that resolved by the morning, by 9 a.m. I'm gonna get a call to the technician tonight and have them work on this to get that up. And
Thank you to Joe for doing the minutes with everything. That's very helpful.
I didn't know they didn't. Send me a
You're
copy.
welcome.
You get
Gotta
them?
go, guys. Gotta put my kids down. Thanks,
Yeah.
Paul.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. It is recorded. I'll post the meeting online and we should be good, okay?
And can we post it? Is it okay for you if we post it on the Left Turn website?
Everyone can do it. We're here to mobilize forces, okay?
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Take
Good
care.
night.
Thank you.
Good
Thanks,
night.
Paul. Good night.
Bye.
Now, Yael,